Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for viewing this series on the business of used fishing reels. And today's one that I think some of you are going to find very interesting and some of you have probably been waiting for. It's how to acquire used fishing reels. And I hope I do this well. There's a lot of information and I'm trying to do this in a short period of time. So let me just start by how I got started in the business. And that'll help a little bit explain some of the things that we talked about in the last two sessions, the one being the overview and the other was how to define your niche, what part of the business you want to play in. So I'm up here in New Jersey on the northeast coast. We mostly do ocean fishing. We're very close to the Raritan Bay and Hudson River estuaries and the Atlantic Ocean across the New Jersey seaboard. And quite a few years ago now, I was enjoying fishing on a for-hire charter boat. It's an open boat. Sometimes in the Northeast we call them head boats or party boats, but typically 20 to 40 customers will go out at a given time. And the fleet provides rental rods and poles for those that don't have the appropriate tackle, that just want to make it a single day trip. And from time to time those rods and reels break. And I got to know the captain very well, and we started a conversation about who fixes the reels to find out there was a need there. And I was doing some light tackle repairs at the time, and we decided that for a nominal charge and some free trips on the boat that I would fix the reels for him. The rest, as they say, is history. But today we're going to talk about acquisition, and in the acquisition of fishing reels there's multiple sources. So I'd like to say that your most important tool in acquiring used fishing equipment is your eyes. If you keep your eyes open, you're going to find them in a variety of spaces, and the time that you put into it will be commensurate with what you are able to find and the kinds of deals that you're able to strike. I also like to say that you better know your products on the front end, because if you buy poorly, you're not going to make a profit at the end of the day. And so we'll start here. You're seeing I'm playing around with an Okuma Avenger. It's a bait feeder. It's a beautiful reel. So the first source of these that I want to talk about is stores. And that might sound almost counterintuitive. But you can find a lot of equipment in stores, and you just need to know where to look, what kind of stores, and so on. So let's spend a minute there. This reel was actually acquired from Cabela's. It was in their back room. I think they call it the cave or something. It's a clearance. Maybe it's even called clearance cave or something. We don't have a lot of Cabela's around us, but I happened to be in one and noticed that they had them. And it was missing a bail. So a customer brought it back in, no bail. It was marked down tremendously. I think I paid $15 for it. I was able to get the bail wire, reinstall it, and now I have a beautiful functioning reel. Just a little bit of wear. You knew the customer knocked the bail off, but certainly I'm going to get my return on investment on this one. So let's talk about stores. So I talked that there's stores out there that have clearances, like Cabela's back room. There's stores out there going out of business. Gander Mountain is probably the most recent example. Here's a Gander Mountain pliers. Now I know we're on fishing reels. I happen to buy quite a few of these, a couple hundred. But you'll notice the pricing on these new was $40. And I was able to get them at about 20 or 25% of the retail cost. So a lot of times when I'm working with customers that need reels, I suggest a complimentary piece, and I would tell you not to shy away from that complimentary piece kind of a thing. So look for liquidations. You probably could have found these at a reduced cost right in the local Gander Mountain outlet. I happen to have worked with a distributor who had bought thousands of these. So going out of business, look at the bargain bins in existing stores. So if you find Kmart, for example, if you walk down the aisles of Kmart, I don't think that there's a fishing pole in a place that isn't missing something, and they generally wind up in a bargain bin. Look for outlets. Here on the Northeast, we have a company out there. It's a job outlet called Ollie's Bargain Outlet. I've been able to find rod and reel combinations, Shakespeare rod and reel combinations that would retail for $20 that are selling for $9. If you look at the outlets, there's a source there. And your bait and tackle shops are also a source. So if you start to build a relationship with bait and tackle shops in the area, local sellers, you'll find that customers will bring in broken reels either as returns, or they'll bring them in for repair, and the bait and tackle shop doesn't have a repair outlet or can't repair it, and the customer says, just take it, and all of a sudden you have a bucket of reels there. And then the last one is going to be somewhat surprising, but I've traveled this beautiful country of ours, and pawnbrokers are a great source of used equipment. You got to know what you want now, because the pawnbrokers kind of know what the value of these things are, but a lot of times customers will come in and they will pawn bad reels. They're just looking to get rid of them, and sometimes the pawnbroker isn't paying attention, so he'll buy a reel. For example, in South Florida, I ran into this a lot. I'd find some very big reels like Penn Gold Internationals and the like, and it came in because there was something damaged on the reel. Pawnbroker didn't know it. He gave it a quick spin. It looked okay. And then as you go to test it out, you point out to them that it's not working, and you get a bigger discount. So I would tell you that don't be afraid to walk in on a pawn shop and see what you can find there. So these are examples of what you can find in stores. Again, look at the clearance sections in your sporting goods stores. Look at the sporting goods section in major stores. Look at the stores that are going out of business to find out if there's any liquidation bargains there. Look to the outlets, who are sometimes trying to dispose of things like the rod and reel combinations we talked about at Ollie's. Look at your bait and tackle shops for the back room bucket. Ask them, develop a relationship with them, and then look at pawnbrokers. And if any of you run into sources other than that from stores and you want to share them, please share them in the comments section of this. Okay, the next one is general flea markets. So in general flea markets, I find a lot of stuff. And we brought this poster child here. I paid $5 for it. This has been a poster child of the seminar series. It's kind of beat up, right? But it was on a pole. I didn't tell you that. It was on a pole when I paid the $5. And the pole happened to be an older Garcia Mitchell boat pole, which is probably worth $10 or $12 by itself. So I bought it for the pole, and the reel kind of came along with it, and I paid $5 for the whole thing. An example on flea markets. It seems like whenever I go across the country, I know they're out there. They're in California, they're in Texas, they're in Florida, they're in North Carolina, they're certainly up here in New Jersey. Everything from local civic organizations to more organized fields and fields of sellers trying to sell just about anything. Two things on the flea market. You can find great deals there. And also, you have to be careful with what you're buying there, obviously. On the great deals, search the stands or the vendors that have fishing equipment that looks out of place. In other words, they may be majoring in selling auto parts, clothing, bric-a-brac, stuff that it looks like maybe they did a clean-out service. I know a lot of folks around here kind of like 1-800-JUNK. They find what's salvageable and they bring it all down to flea markets to sell. Those are the folks that are trying to get a couple of bucks for the thing. They're not looking to get market value. If you're at a flea market, you're probably going to find somebody who specializes in fishing equipment and has racks and racks and tables full and boxes and everything else. And when you have a conversation with them, their chances are they're going to ask market price, not going to ask what you would think of as a flea market value price. So just be aware of that. However, when we get on to selling, flea market is a place to sell. So build relationships with those folks. Have a conversation. They're not your competition. Ask them how they got started in the business, what their specialties are, what they're looking for in terms of resale. And if you come across it, you can always trade. I've developed an awful lot of partnerships out there with folks that sell in the flea market. They happen to be my outsource for low-dollar reels. And I come across low-dollar reels all the time. I can't sell them online. What's the sense of getting a reel that costs $10 that you put online for $10 plus $10 shipping? The real value is only $10 or $15 or $20. It's nominal in terms of what you can get as a value for your return on investment. So I share the low-end reels with them, and they share things back with me. So flea markets. The second one is fishing shows. It's a specific kind of a flea market. And in the fishing shows, there's two types of folks that show up there. Now, fishing shows are generally sponsored by fishing clubs, civics organizations, and the like. Typically, they're held in schools, like a school gymnasium, maybe a local VFW post. They kind of show up all over the places. Generally, they're spring and fall. They're usually sponsored by a local fishing club. And you get all kinds of vendors there, tackle vendors, knife vendors, lures. I put a couple of videos up on some folks I found at fishing shows that have some pretty unique products. But you also find members of the clubs, and you also find people putting their toes in the water looking to sell some stuff, but maybe not knowing exactly what they got. So this box behind me here that you've been staring at is a great example of what I bought from a fishing show. And in there's probably about 30 reels. Maybe 20 to 30, okay? A vendor at the fishing show was not having success, and he was getting tired. We were there 2 or 3 hours. He hadn't sold anything. He was ready to pack and leave, and he put all his reels in a box. Now, I had been eyeing that table. He wasn't far away from where I was selling that day, eyeing the table because there were 2 reels in here I happen to like. These are both old Daiwas. Missing the badge and everything, right? But these are pretty collectible, and if nothing else, I could use the parts on them if I couldn't repair them, right? One's a 4000C, the other's the 7000C. So I looked at the box. He was getting ready to leave, and I said to him, you know, what's going on? And he said, well, I've been disappointed. I really haven't sold much. It's a waste of time. I want to get out of here. I don't know why I did this to begin with, and so on. And I said, well, what do you want for your whole box of reels? And he came back and he said, I don't know. I didn't sell anything. I said, well, how about $50, right? Now, I just did quick math, right? And I said, that would be steal for me. He came back and said 75, and we settled, after a couple of rounds at 62.50, right? And there's a whole bunch of good stuff in here. So I would tell you that you can negotiate at these shows. Keep your eyes out and don't be afraid to ask. So this one turned out to my advantage. There's one reel in here. It's a Shimano Spheros. It's an older version of it, but these reels new in the newer generation sell for $189. This one's probably about 5 or 6 years old. It actually happens to work. There's no repairs required on this one. I don't even know how it wound up on his table, but I wound up the benefactor of that. I just did a quick search on eBay, which I frequently used just as a gauge for what the market pricing is on that, and this one's $50 alone. So I certainly made my my money's worth just with this reel. However, just for examples of what's out there, here's an Ocean City that's a collectible reel. Here's a Mitchell 600 series, which is pretty collectible. We already mentioned these two are Daiwas. Here's a Mitchell 302, still has a following out there. This is an old gladding beast, but there's a lot of folks there. And again, look at the theme here, right? The theme is that they're saltwater reels, which is kind of what my specialty is. Here's a beautiful reel. I don't even know what it is. It's a compact. It's kind of a play on the Penn Senator. We'll take a look at that, see what the value is there. Here's a Penn Delmar. Here's a very collectible one, missing a bail screw, but this is a Damn Quick Finessa. And these things are very valuable as well. So I would say at the end of the day, I did real well here. If you go to those fishing flea markets, don't be afraid to negotiate price. Don't be afraid to ask for bundled deals. And don't be afraid to try your best to get that done. So I apologize, I don't have a lot of working room there. So fishing shows. Keep your eyes open. Garage sales, yard sales, tag sales. People are always moving stuff, doing garage cleanouts, doing the like, trying to figure out what's good to stay, what's good to go. And this is a couple of examples of them. Somebody had bought a pair of reels that they attached to some lightweight poles. I guess they were doing some pond fishing in that. Either they or their children lost interest in it, and it was just at a garage sale for a very cheap price. But you can find that not only garage sales, yard sales, tag sales, they have different names across the country, but you can also find them at estate sales as well, where unfortunately somebody had passed and they were an avid fisherman and you have a lot of equipment there. I have one that's kind of close to that. We'll talk about it in just a moment, but those are there. And then the last thing in general is look at the local advertiser, the for sale section in ads. A lot of times people will say, for sale clothing and sporting goods and things like that. So go ahead and do that, okay? So the next topic then, these are the things you can spot with your eyes, you can plan on going to, you can, sometime you can go buy some stuff. The next is online, and don't be afraid of online. I have a couple of folks, very close friends in the industry. They're housebound, they're handicapped, or they're not mobile, and they do real repair all the time, and so they find it on online sites. So the online places to look are places like Craigslist, eBay. I know I've mentioned that from time to time. So eBay and then Let Go is another one that's just come on, and I'm sure there's other sites out there that market general goods for sale. So let's talk about all of them. So online, you want to look at the one almost like the flea market. Look at the one that seems out of place. There's a lot of people that are using that as end point selling, and they're going to look for market price. So you're not going to win anything in terms of acquiring equipment through them on those sites. Look for the ones that are just looking to get rid of the product. So again, you need to know evaluation. You need to know that this reel is a $50 or a $60 reel, and if you see it for $10 or $15, you've made a good investment. If you see it for $40 or $45, you've marginalized your purchase there. On eBay, there's a section in there for parts and repair. That's always a good one to look at. Those are usually discounted by the seller to begin with. There's also an arbitrage play in eBay. There's people out there that are selling on the eBay site that don't know what they have. They'll either start with a low auction that doesn't have interest, and so you might see a reel out there with $5 plus $10 shipping that's a $40 reel. That's worth consideration. You may find out that there's people out there that put a low starting price on an auction that didn't have interest, and again, there's a big valuation difference between what you can pay and what you can sell. But you will also find on that 150,000 listings on eBay, I'm not making that number up, I referenced that in the last one, go search fishing reels, you'll find there's 150,000 listings out there. You'll find that there's some folks out there that are not knowledgeable in the worth, and their listing may have been overlooked for whatever reason. And you can make a good score on that. So those are kind of like online auction sites. So there's also an online section out there that's stores, right? So let me give you four. There's tackledirect.com, there's overstock.com, there's Sierra Trading, and Cabela's is online. I'm just going to give you an example here. I know we're not talking fishing reels again, but sometimes you just find deals that you can't pass up. So go to the online sections, go to those sites, go to others if you like. Take a look at what's out there, and if you know your products, you know you're selling value to it, you can succeed very well. So this is a surf bag. Again, staying with my specialty. It's got two plastic containers inside of it, and it's got a strap. I got this from Sierra Trading. It was $10. It regularly retails for $20. Free shipping. So I know that as a complimentary product, just like the Gander Mountain pliers, that I can have customers out there, if they are buying, I can recommend that they take their reels or the lures or whatever it is that they're working on, and find a nice home for them in one of these surf bags. I could probably get retail. I could probably get the $20 that it cost. It's certainly worth that product. But it was acquired online from a store clearance section. This is particularly valuable in the higher end reels. If you focus there, you'll see how that plays out. So again, look online to some of those resources and go to the clearance section, see what you can find. The next one I want to talk about is distributors and wholesalers. So here's three reels that were acquired through a distributor. I have a distributor relationship down in Florida. Now, many of you may not get into a distributor relationship right away. It does require a commitment in terms of the dollar amounts to purchase, and it also kind of on a per purchase basis, maybe $300-500 you got to buy, and also on an annual basis it's reviewed. So they're pretty selective in what it is. You also have to set yourself up as a business because it is tax exempt in a lot of states. You also have to pay pretty close attention to what you're buying there. But I already mentioned that I got the Gander Mountain pliers. I also got a whole bunch of Gander Mountain reels in liquidation. And what you're seeing in front of you here is a big old Shakespeare. Here's a Jarvis Walker, which was a pen company that went out of business. They sold their business to the Jarvis Walker business. They sold it to Bimini Bay Tackle. They make tsunami reels. Bimini Bay took the designs and engineering and rebranded it as Tsunami. Here's a Daiwa wave reel. These reels are called R&R reels. Repair or replace is one of the things I heard. Could probably stands for several other things. But at any rate, you can get these very reasonable. They're usually customer returns. This one's got a click in it that's noticeable. This one actually seems to work pretty well. So maybe this was sold as part of a rod and reel combination and the rod broke. This one certainly has got a lot of dirt on it. It wouldn't surprise me if the customer took it out once, dumped it in the river, didn't want it and returned it. And you know, some stores have very liberal return policies, take back everything, and maybe that's what wound up there. So these reels can be purchased at a fraction of the price. And they usually need to be cleaned. In some cases they need to be repaired. In some cases they become parts reels because you can't do anything with it. You take a little bit of a chance there. But you can make a lot of money on R&R returns and takeoffs. So I use that word takeoff just there. Let me show you what a takeoff is. Here's another distributor example. This is a Penn 8000 Fierce 2 live liner. It's a takeoff. What that means is it was sold as a rod and reel combination and it came back to the store, or they changed the design and manufacturer or something else. It got returned to the manufacturer. The manufacturer takes the reel off of the pole, sells the reel separately. And this reel today retails for about $110. I purchased it for a whole lot less than that. And when I sell it at a show, I can give them a break off of retail, and I can still make some good money on the takeoffs. Those don't require repair now, but remember what we said. This is acquisition, this is repair, and this is resale, and in that case, we're going for resale. Here's another example of it. This is a Penn Fierce. Now, I just mentioned Fierce 2 over there. Fierce was updated to Fierce 2. This is a Fierce 7000. When they updated the Fierce line to Fierce 2, they didn't provide the 7000. They went Fierce 2.6 and Fierce 2.8, but they changed the design. As you noticed, there's bullet holes or drill holes here. That's about the only difference in the product itself, but the 7000 doesn't belong there. It's not in the series any longer, so it's an obsolete reel. I was able to purchase that from a distributor, and there's customers out there that like the 7000 size, particularly here in the Northeast in the surf, so I've got some product to sell them. And then the last one I'll show you is outdated models. Here's an Okuma. It's a Coronado bait feeder. It's a beautiful reel, brand new. And this one went back to the distributors because if you look for the Coronado today, it was a fashion change. They went to silver spool and silver handle now. So they have to change out their stock. When they change out the stock, you can benefit from that by getting a reduced price. And again, it's a new reel, so you can sell that one pretty well. Okay? So, I'm running long on this one. This is how you find reels. I'm going to do a second one that'll come up probably within a day of this one on how reels find you. That might sound a little interesting, but a lot of the reels that I get have found me. So I hope you find this enjoyable. If there's anything I missed in terms of you finding reels, if you have sources, if you have things you want to share with the community out there, please post them in the comments, and maybe we'll all learn something as we go through this exercise. So I appreciate you watching this video. I hope that this is providing some useful information to you on the business of used fishing reels, and I look forward to providing you the next one on how reels find you. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching. I welcome your comments, questions, and if you need any information, please ask, and we'll see if we can incorporate that into the future sessions. Thanks again.